Okay, a little story time. I thought about making this video actually since a few weeks, or at least more than a few days, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about my story, I guess, or not my full story, but just moments that led me to this art journey. I was always an artist when even when I was little. I remember picking up a pencil and paper when I was like, I don't know, 4 years, 5 years old or something like that. And I started just doodling. And I think when I was between 5 and 8, I loved to draw Mickey Mouse, very cliched Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck and all these kinds of characters. And I mostly used colored pencils and jolly colored pencils, and I think ballpoint pens. Interestingly, ballpoint pens. I have some old drawings, at least started, oftentimes not finished fully, with the ballpoint pens that displayed some like the I don't know, all kinds of Disney characters basically, and yeah. Uh, when I look back at some of the colored pencil drawings, they were really nice. They were really good. But then something happened. I think around the age of 10, when I switched school. So when I came from primary school and I went to, I think it's the equivalent of high school in America. Um, that's when not only the surroundings changed massively for me, but also every ounce of my being got heightened in fear. The fear state became really, really strong. And I remember I always had, even when I went to kindergarten at a very little age, I was terrified. I was terrified of new places. I was terrified of new people. I was absolutely uh, feeling this impending sense of doom, basically this dreadful feeling. So basically massive social anxiety as far back as I can remember, or at least like since the age of 5, 6. It's when I remember that it really started. Before that, I don't remember. I don't recall. Other only just glimpses and pieces of when I was, for instance, on my dad's shoulders in a museum, and I looked at some artworks. And even back then, I would just like gaze at the art pieces and be just mesmerized, absolutely mesmerized by the masterpieces displayed in museums. And I was just in love with it. I just felt this energy, this radiance of the artworks coming through, the spirit of the artist, but also the this higher spiritual energy connected to art, and this life affirming aura that art can have. Of course, there's all kinds of motives and atmospheres in art pieces in museums, but the ones that I felt drawn to, at least, were displaying this life affirming energy, like portrayals of nature, or just absolutely mesmerizing, perfect detail, portraits that captured perfect details. Um, and yeah, and as you can see, also now I'm struggling, with finding the right words. I always had that, even when I was little, like this ADHD mind, like being all over the place, really, very creative, but all over the place. And I had so many struggles in school. It was really terrible. It was, I can only say it was a terrible time. School, at least at beginning with the age of 10, 9, I think it started before the switch to the new school. But when I switched to the new school, it was absolutely terrible. One reason for that was, of course, ADHD mind, not fitting in was another one. Being hypersensitive to external stimuli, being hypersensitive to basically being around other people, being in new environments. Then, of course, all the things that you had to learn, and I was not good at any subject really. Maybe one or two subjects that I was thriving in, but other than that, not good. Not even in art class. And that's the interesting thing, is like art class was um, kind of traumatizing also for me, especially that one moment that I remember pretty vividly, where the art teacher would look at my drawing. They told me to come in front to the desk to show them what I made within, I don't know, the last half hour or so in class. And I remember him just looking at it and being like, in front of everyone, basically discouraging me, saying like, this is not good. Come on, you didn't put in any effort. This is terrible. Basically, like saying this is not good. You won't get a good grade, with that kind of artwork, and not saying it, in a nice, empathetic tone. At least that's how I perceived it, but rather in front of everyone so that everyone can hear it. And of course, with lowered head and lowered shoulders and everything, I went back into the class, back to my table, and hearing like other people whisper about that, like, and me having this ingrained in my subconscious. It's like, oh, the only thing you were good at, you're now not good at anymore. And that really, I think that's a really deep pain for me, and that's really, um, carved out a lot of bad things, on my path. I attracted a lot of criticisms from people. I had so many people come across my path that would try to derail me, that were either jealous of me, that were, either just, I don't know, unconsciously or subconsciously trying to manipulate me, trying to talk me into things that I don't even want to follow through with. I'm not even interested in. Art was always my passion, and just not just drawing or anything, but drawing, painting, making music, making poetry, writing books, novels. I think by now I wrote 11 novels and two, non-fiction books, and I just love it. I hope success will come soon, but I'm working on, three other novels, split out, and now, they're on pause, on hold for some time, because I was feeling heavily, demotivated. And yeah, well, depression is a real thing, and I struggled with it through most of my life, I would say, or a large part of my life. Anxiety, depression, ADHD, all kinds of emotional, um, yeah, pains and traumas, and mental pains and imbalances, and also physically. I mean, there's it's just the last couple of weeks, I just can't put in the amount of hours of work into my craft that I wish I could. It's just a few hours every week. But yeah, that moment, in the past, when the teacher would tell me that really, I think that really instilled something very deep inside of me. And this that we can all relate to as artists, this, like imposter syndrome, inferiority complex, whatever you want to call it, just like comparing yourself and not feeling good enough with anything you do. This actually seeped through to such a degree in the past that I wouldn't make art. Actually, I would jump from one field to another and try out different things, but I would not follow through with it, because there was this extremely critical voice from other people, not just this one person, there many, many people. And then of course my own thoughts intermingling with it. And I wonder if any of you can relate to that, or if yeah, what do you basically think about this, and feel about this whole subject, this whole topic. This is very personal for me to share. I thought about it for quite some time, if I want to share it, because it's very deep. It's a deep wound, and of course I'm trying to work through it since years. Some parts are healed, way better than I've been some years ago, but other parts are still like, okay, what is this exactly? What is this part that tells you you're not good enough, that tells you you can't do it? I just want to tell you, you are good enough. This is a reminder for myself and for anyone listening who can resonate with this message. You are enough. That's it. You are enough. No matter if you do something, no matter, if you do it good, if you do it mediocre, if you can improve, don't think about it as you're doing a bad job. Don't think about it as you're you're absolutely terrible at, I don't know, drawing or painting or making music or writing, or maybe it's something completely different. Maybe it's mathematics or physics or biology or anything, or programming that you're super passionate about, or maybe 3D modeling, you know, or animating or anything like that. It doesn't have to be a purely creative field. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. I think everyone has the birthright to be a creative being. That's just part of our essence, part of our universal, um, all-encompassing, loving essence, part of our true light, I think, of our true soma, of our core, and nobody has the right to take it away from you. And what I wish for the world is to go into a direction, what I wish for people, society to go into a direction is to support each other, to encourage each other, not to be like, oh yeah, I'm better than this person, or you're worse than this person. And people just constantly comparing each other and constantly like bashing each other. Also in the art community, I noticed, even with some really, really talented, really brilliant artists, I noticed there is this kind of like they almost want to like, you know, bash the other artist, you know, like be better than them, and then it's like, ah yes, they're better, they're sitting on their throne. This is no battle, this is no battlefield. This is a field of unification. Art is meant to unify. Art is meant to speak to your heart and speak to your soul, I think. And I'm absolutely, deeply, unshakably convinced that art can heal your soul. Art can heal the tried and treaded and sorrowful and painful human condition, and it can heal fragments of broken pasts, and it can heal the future, and it can basically reignite your sense of purpose and your sense of there's hope, there's something great, there's greatness awaiting in the future on the horizon, and also in the present moment, of course. Like I heard some other artist a few days ago on YouTube just say how pencil drawing can be a meditative act if you do it correctly, if you slow down, if you really be conscious about your movements and be conscious about um, yeah, basically your being in the whole process. That's my takeaway. Is you can make even a pencil drawing a meditation process. You don't have to sit there in silence and just try to get rid of any and all thoughts. Art is a meditation in some way. It can also be the complete opposite. It can be like an exaltation and a heightening of joy and excitement, and a really uh, joyous, you know, flamboyant upheaval of emotions. You can also use anger as a propellant. You can use anger to create, you know, intense music, and to basically manifest, materialize what you cannot explain with words. What you express. You're an expression of divinity. You're an expression of creativity. You're an expression of the universe's ever so fluctuating but always constant stream of consciousness, an expression of your essence. I think you should all follow through with doing your art and continue. Yesterday, for instance, I had maybe, I don't know, I wouldn't say an epiphany, but a little milestone again. I got my Faber-Castell Polychromos pencils, which I really love, and I try to just draw an apple, you know, because it's I think 26 years or 25 years, when I don't know when, or 20 years, maybe 20 years, when I was 8 years old, I think, when I last drew with colored pencil, like really making a drawing, not just doing some few lines or some few shades and then leaving it, but making a drawing, no matter how small. This is, I think, the first time in 20 years that I made a drawing again, because I was so discouraged with all kinds of things. And yes, during the past years, I picked up brushes, I picked up some you know, just some normal pencils like these, but only monochromos paintings, drawings, or some of the ink pens. But I was in such a lost state, I would say, in such a dark state also, that it was reflected in my art, and I was not passionate about it really. I was passionate about my music that I discovered, composing, especially composing orchestral music, on the computer that I discovered about 2.5 years ago. That was an epiphany that brought me down into a whole rabbit hole of incredible, um, a world of wonder basically. But when it came to drawing and painting, this lack. There was always this lack of confidence, you know. Even with music, I notice is like, oh my god, you know, like, am I good enough? You know, this constant nagging. Are you good enough to be able to present yourself to the world? And I would say yes, yes I am. Yes you are. This is a reminder for both of us. You know, when I watch this video in a few years, I will probably, I hope, I will laugh and be like, ha, okay, now I've transcended that stage. I've transcended this critical mind, this critical energy, whatever it is, you know. And I just wish that we all have joy creating. It's like what Bob Ross always taught. That's why a few weeks ago I rediscovered Bob Ross, and I was looking at the YouTube channel. And I'm like, this is exactly what art is made for. This is exactly how it should be. You know, if there's any should, this is what I feel resonates with me mostly personally. Is finding the joy in painting, finding the joy in creating, and just doing it for the sake of doing it, and then being proud of yourself, being grateful for the process, but also being proud of yourself for doing it. That doesn't matter how the result comes out. If you create, doesn't even have to be consistently, but semi-consistently. Let's say if you create once a week or once every 2 weeks, if you don't find more time than that, that's fine, you know. But some form of consistency is of course good, is very much advisable. And I consider myself a full-blown artist on the one hand, and on the other hand, I sometimes feel so lost that I'm like, okay, is any of what I'm doing really good? Is it resonating with people? And yes, just by a few comments that I got over the course of the last few months or the last year, is yes, absolutely, it resonates with people. Even if it's not up to the game that I want to be, I want to improve way more. It's like I'm at the level of maybe 20% from what I really want to achieve, but it's a journey. And no matter how old you are, no matter where you come from, no matter what your background is, no matter what experiences in life you are, your voice and your artistic expression is valid. It is valid. And the only thing that I would recommend, it's just a recommendation, of course, it's not something that you have to follow, is listen to your heart and listen to what you really want, not what the voices from other people in your head want, what the critics want. If you do something to impress someone else, or if you do something to impress a past part of yourself or a split of part of yourself that's not really you, think about it again, reflect on it again. Maybe it's not really what you want. And usually what I find is the creativity becomes more wholesome. It becomes life affirming. It becomes more colorful also. Interestingly, that's just from my personal experience, when you don't create from a place of pain, but you create despite the pain, or you use the pain and the anger or the frustration or whatever it is as a propellant to get into a territory of life affirming energy. And that's when, for instance, you have just my personal example would be, I used to draw with just normal pencils like this, made a lot of surreal, like sometimes a bit almost horror flair kind of drawings, or at least very, very strange, obscure drawings that when I look back, I'm like, not cringing, but I'm like, I don't resonate with it, you know. I have to chuckle, and I'm thinking I don't resonate with most of the things that I made in the past. Movies also, I made 10 short films, and all of them I don't resonate with anymore. I can't even watch them, not because yes, they are bad. In a lot of ways, they're really not up to the game, that I'm up to the level that I would want them to be. But I just don't resonate with the content, with the way it looks, with the motives, the themes that I present, and the same with drawing. With music, it's different. I think music is even harder to describe than paintings, drawings, and movies and books. But when it comes to the visual arts, I definitely notice, okay, as soon basically as soon as I met my wife, I started to paint with color. I started to use color because there was something reignited, something revived within me that was lost along the way. The inner child came back, and it's very sensitive. It needs very gentle care. And I think if you're an artist or if you're a sensitive person, I think some parts of what I'm saying here will resonate. And yeah, I hope it inspires you. I hope it lets you get into a mode of realization where you see yourself as a being, an essence of high potential, of high, creativity, of life affirming, beautiful, basically life affirming, expressive potential that you can put into the world, so that you can reignite other people's passion, that you can help the world get a little bit better. Just a little bit, it doesn't have to be massive shifts. You might not even notice it on a collective level, but if it's one or two people that you influence, let's say within the span of a year, and they say like, wow, you really, like, after watching your video, after sharing this information, after sharing your art with me, even better, if you share your art and someone gets like, actually I also want to start painting now, or they want to hang up your image in their place, in their space. That's like one of the greatest gifts you can get as an artist, if they're willing to invest in you. If someone is willing to invest in you, if someone is willing to send you words of love and encouragement instead of criticism and just spite, and standing there like, what do you want with that? Like so many comments from people that we know in the past, or that I knew. I would get this demeanor, kind of like, yeah, like, or I thought you were better at that. These half compliments, like, that's not bad, but I thought you were better than that. These kinds of things, when people really confuse you with their comments. I would rather get no comment, or just like, that's interesting, instead of that's good, but last time it was better. Now you kind of suck a bit more. Whatever. Okay, I don't want to derail myself from the positive message here. Whatever the comment is that you get, whatever the feeling you get from a person, just ignore them as much as you can. Try to ignore them. Try to ignore the hate, the jealousy, because it also comes from a place of pain. In fact, those people might not realize it, but they have a very big pain, a great weakness within them. And this weakness is something that we actually should feel empathy for. We should look at them and say, okay, this is actually just a pure human being, or a pure soul, not pure, poor human being, but everyone has a pure soul. Everyone on a soul level, I would say, is pure, even if we don't see it in the human material realm. So let's try to have empathy with them and just ignore the haters. And if someone is really strong with their spite, and their comments, then of course you can say something. You can say no to them, and be back in your power, in your own essence, without being derailed, without being distracted, at least not too much. Okay, so I hope this was inspiring to you. I wish you a lovely day, and see you next time.